I can edit this out. This is the fun part.
He uses totally exotic ingredients, spends a lot of money on like the best quality stuff, and it shows. I mean, they're so good.
It's amazing the difference, like when you get high quality ingredients.
Oh, yeah.
Yes,
I was
it does.
shocked.
Like the best gin.
Yeah.
Not
Yeah.
the one made by that famous celebrity.
What one?
The
Which
one
one
that's
is
up in the pantry that I have, made by that one celebrity.
Which one?
It's the one that you would, for people that like airplanes.
Aviation.
Oh,
You said it, not me. Yeah.
Wait, but I don't know who the founder is of that. Which celebrity?
That's Ryan Reynolds.
Oh, is it? I
Yeah.
don't know.
Yeah.
oh, you told me that.
Yeah. So it's
Oh,
not
I didn't know
as-
it's
it's
I didn't know it sucked either.
average. We'll say it's average.
sorry,
It's
Ryan.
good with tonic.
Sorry,
And
Ryan, if you're listening.
normally I like a quarter slice of lime with my gin and tonics. This is more like a half a slice of lime.
Oh.
I see.
It's all right. Now he'll never talk to me.
No,
Well, we
he's
won't get them as a
No.
sponsor, will we? Anyway, you want to start this thing?
What do you mean?
Like hit record?
Oh
for
yeah,
the
but I'm not
audio?
saying anything. I'm just asking
I
questions.
know, but
okay.
we got the
Yes,
video.
I thought
part.
I was
Here we
having
go.
to do the intro.
So this is the YouTube portion. This is like the extra content that people get if they tune into the YouTube channel. Okay, here we go. 3, 2, 1. Folks, welcome back to Toasting the Business. Lynn is not with me this week because she's tired of me already after doing one episode. She needed a break.
Can't imagine why.
But thank you. But the smart ass Megan is here today, and I'm happy to have her. And I kind of goaded her into doing the episode. And honestly, it was because of our guest that we're going to have here in a second. She said, "Who's the guest?" And I told her, and I sent her a little info, and she's like, "I'll do it." And I'm like, "Fabulous. I love that." So anyway, we do have to thank our sponsor. Thank you, Megan, for being the sponsor of the podcast. We love Perspective. We got news for you. And that's Perspective without an E, folks. And even I was interviewed on that. Is that one up? That episode up?
Partially.
Partially. The
Your
video.
3-minute vignette is up. Your full interview is not done.
Okay. So basically what it was is Megan is trying to help people decide what they want to do for their career or next career or change of whatever. You should not live to work. You should work to live. And so she gives insight by interviewing all these fabulous people from around the country, from an former FBI interrogator to an ice farmer, to a blacksmith, to some schlep like me. And so if you're interested in seeing these videos, go to getperspective.com, and that's getperspective without an E.com. If you want to, because you're driving and you can't write this down, just go to our website, check out the show notes from today's episode, click on the link, and there's a discount code in there too. If you decide to sign up and get a membership, when you probably should, it's well worth it. But anyway, Megan, thank you. And thank you for the delicious cocktail. It's been a while because we've been on hiatus for a bit. I am really, really parched.
So parched.
But my liver is quite happy. Anyway, enough about that. Let's talk to our guest who's waiting in the wing. I was asking her, how'd you find us? How'd you reach out to us? And she goes, I got people. I know people.
That's scary.
So it's Erica Bethe Levin. Erica, welcome. And then your company is Globowl, and it's Globowl.
Correct. Yes.
Got it.
That's it. You got it right. You said it right. All good.
What do you do?
Well, loaded question. So
okay.
Globowl,
what are you doing right now?
She's on a podcast.
Yeah.
But Globowl is internationally inspired food for babies and toddlers. So kind of turning the current American baby food industry on its head and going back to the way parents used to feed their kids, which was just feed them what you're eating, which is how the rest of the world does it. So we're bringing the flavors from around the world to babies from their very first bites, but in a formulated specifically for toddlers and babies. We're introducing allergens early to help avoid this massive epidemic of food allergies in our kids and American kids. And we're also using glass jars. So again, kind of a throwback to the way baby food used to be versus these single-use plastic pouches full of kind of mushy purees that kids drink instead of chew, so it stifles their oral motor development. And yeah, in glass jars, again, also to avoid some of these nano and microplastics that are prevalent everywhere we go. We're all consuming it, and we want to start them off with the healthiest little chance in life. So that's what we're doing.
Okay, great.
know,
Thanks for
we
being on the show. Let's
30
go now.
seconds.
We're done. How did, and we did talk about this really quick. So obviously I'm having a nice gimlet here. You've got your hot tea, and Erica is drinking. So she goes, "Can I say it on the show?" I'm like, "Go for it. Tell everybody what you're having."
I'm not having a traditional, wine or beers, but I am having my CBD soda, which is my version of just trying to be a little healthier in the evenings. And honestly, the flavors are really great. There's some good brands out there now. Makes you feel like you're drinking when you're not. And it's just like a cool, way to end the day. Kind of chills me out a little bit.
Practice what you preach. You're trying to pass off healthy baby food, and you might as well treat your own body the same way, right? So how did you get into, baby food? Come on, who wakes up?
I thought she had babies.
I know, but you're not 5 years old going, I'm going to make baby food. That wasn't your lifelong dream, was it? No.
Did you see Baby Boom, the movie? Did you see Diane Keaton crush it in that movie?
Yes.
Sell her baby food company for bajillions of dollars, or at that time it was millions of dollars. No, I was inspired by my own kids. I'm a serial entrepreneur, so this is my third company. And I said I wasn't going to be doing another company again unless I like couldn't imagine not doing it. Like if it was in my blood, I knew the world needed it, and I was willing to kind of take those chances again, because there's a lot more at risk at this stage of my life, than at 24, right after college, or 23. I've got 2 kids and a mortgage and, a family and less time than ever. So I didn't want to do anything unless I felt I had to. And that's what this was for me. So that's how it started, inspired by my own kids. I can go further into the story, but that might be enough.
You said inspired by your own kids. So yeah, I would like to know, I'm sure Megan does too.
Yeah.
Were you just using, because I know, like you're saying, those pouches, and with my granddaughters especially, one is 6 now, and now we got a 5-month-old, so we're really hitting
I'll be sending you some Globowl.
There you go, please. So, but and then I've got 2 daughters that I actually got to young adulthood. They're 26 and 21, so I got them there. That was good. They're alive. But the stuff that we fed them way back when, it's like, I don't know. I guess it's Gerber baby food. This is what we grew up on. I thought smush peas, and it was, for me, 20 something years ago, it was in glass jars that we were serving the kids. And then came the plastics. So why? What made you go, I got to make something better?
Well, the plastic it has caused a lot of problems, not just the plastic part, but just the fact that kids are learning to eat for the very first time by drinking their food, right? That's horrible. It's stifling their oral motor development, their skills, like even chewing and swallowing is a skill they have to develop. And it's the same reason you have to take a pacifier out of a kid's mouth at a certain point. It's because it's the same thing. You got to pull that pouch out, because it can also lead to speech delays and texture aversions. It's so funny. I had a parent-teacher conference today, and she was saying that a lot of kids she goes, I've never seen this before in my 25 years of teaching, but so many kids have these speech issues. And I said, that's so interesting. You didn't see this 20 years ago. And of course my brain goes to the pouches and everything I'm trying to teach. She goes, I don't know what it is, but it's didn't happen 20 years ago, didn't happen 25 years ago. I go, do you think it could be the way children have learned to eat, which is kind of by sucking on these pouches? Just, oh my gosh, I never thought of it that way. It's a real thing. Dentists say it's causing cavities because the contents of the pouches are sitting on kids' teeth. Under a year old, kids are having cavities, and it's crazy. But it wasn't all that. That was research I did kind of after the fact. It was just, I didn't want another picky eating kid. I didn't want my husband and I are both in the food business, always have been. And we pride ourselves on loving food, loving, to go out to eat, being really good cooks. And our first kid won't eat anything. And I kind of look back and I realize, well, I was afraid to give him texture and flavor and spice and all these wonderful things that we like. And now he's had the same meal every night for dinner for the past 5 years. Maybe a slice of pizza here and there to break it up, and that's it. And so with our daughter, we just said, we're not doing that again. And we were eating coconut curry with shrimp one night. And so she ate coconut curry with shrimp that night. And that is her first meal that she ever had. And she's still a great eater. And that's when I realized, oh my gosh, there's something to this early introduction of, texture and flavor and spice. And my doctor always said, feed them what you're eating. And I just didn't the first time around because I was scared. So wasn't making that mistake again.
That kind of answered my question because I wanted to know about the internationally inspired portion of your business because I am also a big foodie. But I was like, ooh, is there like Indonesian baby food and like Korean barbecue baby food? Because I kind of want that.
I'm going back for that.
Right
I'll
now.
buy it for myself. Just, what do you eat today?
My husband eats it all the time. I'm like, stop eating the profits. Like, I'll make it for you, but do not open another jar. He's my big baby, guys. My big baby.
So you teach your daughter, and I will. My younger one is becoming she's gotten to be a much better eater, but she still has things. It's like, come on, really?
Yeah.
But she's willing to try it. But my oldest, she's a great eater. And from the time she was little, you could not, like, you put any fruits, vegetables in front of her, and she would go to town on it. And I remember one time I actually had like a taco salad and I was eating it and she thought she was grabbing a piece of cucumber or something. And I saw it as she was putting it in her mouth and I'm like, oh, that's a jalapeno. And her face just went, and I'm like, I'm so sorry.
But hey, you know what? That's not a bad thing. I just wrote an article about the fact that it's not that you're trying to give your kids spicy foods, but spice is important. So like one of our recipes has cayenne pepper in it. It doesn't make it spicy, but the fact is the tongue tastes it and then accepts it the next time. It's not a surprise. So if you give them cayenne pepper again in a month or two, or even 2 years later, it's not jarring. And so it's just the idea of adjusting their palate. So, hey, the jalapeno probably helped.
Might have.
So what is the texture or the consistency of your baby food?
It's kind of akin to a stew or a salsa like texture, because kids then are learning kind of, the necessary skills of chewing and swallowing and all of that.
I'm going to buy some.
What age,
What
age do you introduce this into? What's the average starting age for these kids to?
You could start it as soon as your child eats regular solids, they can eat this. It just depends on your parental preference. Some people are always going to want to do a puree first. Some parents are going to want to follow the whole baby-led weaning trend. It's not even a trend; it's more of a movement. And it's they let the baby wean themselves, by picking up food and all of that, little baby pieces. But yeah, it's whenever the parent feels comfortable, when they feel their baby is ready for it. But it is safe to eat as their very first food. It's actually backed by pediatricians. We worked with pediatric nutritionists, pediatric dentists, and doctors to make sure that it was the right texture, so it doesn't pose a choking hazard, that people or babies without teeth can gum it, and it's the right size so that it's not a choking hazard as well. So we tried to think of everything.
You have this light bulb moment. We're not going to have a second child that eats bland food. You decide that, you could have just sat there and said, I'm going to make this meal for our daughter and it'll be good enough. But you had to take it one step further and turn it into a company. And how did that, did you start coming up with recipes first? Did you, there's so many questions I got. It's like A/B testing. What kind of testing do you do? What type of market? Where's your market penetration? So anyway, what made you go, I want to make this a company? And what were your top 4 recipes in the beginning that I imagine being a tester for that? Her husband was probably like, oh, not tonight. I can't do it. I can't do it, Erica. I gotta
biggest baby of the bunch, right? To answer the question, like I said before, I kind of knew I was going to have another company at some point. It's just kind of in my blood, but I wasn't looking for it. I just, if it happened, it happened. And this was that business. I knew I wouldn't be able to sleep at night unless I brought this to life. I just figured, not just figured, even talking to other parents, all of us fear having a picky eater. That's just like a general sort of understandable fear that any parent has, because it's not just about being a foodie and taking them to great restaurants. It's about making sure they get the proper nutrition and that they enjoy life. Like food is such a big part of life, such a big way of telling your own story, like telling about your culture and your heritage and your family. Like I just love all of it so much. So after my daughter ate the curry with the shrimp, which by the way, tons of allergens in this too. I was like ready to give them to her because I didn't want kids with allergies either. But that's when I started doing the research. I'm like, okay, if I need this, other parents need it. I've talked to my friends about this. Like, is this a safe way to feed kids? Like, called my friend who's a pediatrician, went to the USDA website and blah, blah, blah. So the USDA actually had just come out, I think it was the same year, for the first time ever, with pediatric feeding guidelines. And it said diversity of food is critical and feed allergenic foods early and often. And I'm like, ding, ding, that's what I just said. So then I realized there's something to this. There's a white space in the market. It really is just a grocery shelf full of, pureed mush in a pouch with no flavor. And it sets kids up for bad eating habits, sets them up for overconsumption, because when you drink it, you eat more, your tummy's not giving you the cues that you're full. So there's like all these reasons to do it. And then, about recipes. I mean, I'm a cook. I'm not a chef. I'm not a trained chef, but I knew what my family liked. And I'm like, okay, I want to play with this. And I want to showcase that part of the world and that part of the world. And it was also during a time when we couldn't leave our house. This was COVID. This was quarantine period. Like this was
good time to launch a business, right?
Yeah.
I mean, I launched my first business in 2008. I mean, what is wrong with me? I don't know. I was too young to know the difference at that point. But anyway, so during COVID, and like we had no hope of traveling. Not that we every day go on trips around the world or anything, but you want the option, you want the option. And I knew that I wasn't going to be able to do that with my kids. I couldn't take them anywhere. So I had to bring kind of the world to them. And so I kind of thought about from that angle, so pad thai is super popular and tikka masala. These are all flavors we loved. And then I went outbound. I did a survey with, moms that I know and don't know. And they, moms that I do know, their friends, and got a few hundred people to respond and tell us their top 4 choices out of the ones I put out there. And we went to work. So I started playing with recipes myself, and then I brought in a chef.
And your daughter was jam on? She liked them all?
She was our taste tester. Yeah. She really embraced like all of it, really.
I like the part where you mentioned allergens and introducing allergens early. And I always make a joke. I'm like, well, if somebody can't handle it because they're allergic to something, then we're just thinning the herd. But it's a joke, and but it's just serious. Don't use that in your pitch.
I'm definitely never saying that. Nope.
But people are like, he's so mean. And I really don't mean that. But it has become a thing, and it's a serious issue, because in schools, as you know, raising kids, it's like you can't bring in anything with nuts. On airplanes, people have an issue that's like, we're not serving nuts on this one because somebody said that they're allergic, and then everybody's looking around to see who that person is, why they can't get their airline peanuts today. In the cafeterias, they have separate tables for the kids they're isolated, which makes them feel bad.
It does,
actually. So introducing these allergens, what does it do? Because I know, like I said, my other granddaughter, they're experimenting with little bits of food for right now, and it's like, and seeing what she likes and doesn't like, and it's wonderful. There's very few things that she's like, yeah,
good,
I don't like it. But they even gave her a little peanut butter, and it's like, you're sitting back watching because you're scared to death as a new parent. You're going, I'm going to give my kid peanut butter for the first time. What the hell's going to happen? So how does it help at that age?
Yeah, I have so many things to say to that. So with the peanut introduction, I am not a doctor at all. However, you can really go back multiple generations. Did your parents or grandparents have food allergies? No.
Nope.
It's really a direct result of us sanitizing baby food, right? They're busy moms and dads are not cooking it themselves. They're buying these sanitized versions of baby food that have been totally stripped of allergens. And then if you want to do the math and look back, that's when you start seeing these, few generations of picky eating kids with food allergies. Like when I was in school, we brought we could bring peanuts to school. I mean, this is not a very long standing sort of situation, right? It's seemingly a result of sort of the American way of sterilizing our food from the very beginning. So early allergen introduction is scientifically linked to a reduction in the likelihood of food allergies down the line. There's tons of studies on it. There's a study called the LEAP study. Then the LEAP study just released something else. I mean, it's been about maybe 15 years, and they just released something this year again, following up, saying that it actually lasts longer into adulthood than they realize, like the ability to stave off these allergies. So it's super interesting. I mean, the peanut thing, I did the same, like, even though I was hesitant, to give my kid spice and flavor, which is crazy, but not hesitant to give him allergies. It's because I so deeply believed in the science behind it. And my doctor telling me it's really important, give them peanut butter, give them this. And I did right from the beginning. I mixed it with banana. I mixed it with whatever, I thinned it out so it didn't pose a choking hazard. But also now looking back, I probably didn't need to be that scared about it, because in all the research I've been doing over the last 3 years, most kids are not born with food allergies, right? So it's because we're not giving it to them that they develop them later in life. So at 6 months old, you really don't have as much to fear about giving them the allergens as you probably thought. Of course, consult your doctor, but there are kids that are prone to allergies, like kids that have eczema are inherently more prone to being allergic to food. So, always check. But in general, this is a pretty uniquely American problem. There are England and Australia have issues with it as well. But for the most part, kids out overseas do not have the same issues as we do. And, we're all the same, right? So why would that be if not for the lack of giving kids all this stuff from the beginning?
Well, when you mentioned pad thai, I was like, well, it's got a peanut sauce in it. So if you're giving your kids Globowl pad thai, I'm assuming you're not holding back the peanuts sauce.
That's the whole point. We're not taking anything out. We're not like adding allergens in on purpose to a dish that doesn't, have them. We're just simply feeding the authentic version of food, and it just so happens to have allergens in it. So yes, pad thai, it's peanuts, it has egg, it has soy, it has fish sauce. Yeah.
This is healthier than the shit your brother eats, Megan.
I don't know. Shawnee's pretty. I'm in the cult now too, by the way.
Oh, good Lord.
That's why I'm not drinking.
You're not raw vegan.
My brother's
Did
a
you go
raw vegan. Yeah.
Oh.
No, not full raw vegan. I've just cut out all processed food.
Let's go have a steak.
So I still eat meat, just not processed
meat.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
Way to go.
Thank you. Yeah, I've been learning so much. I've been on my own food journey. I could talk about this for hours, but I don't. This podcast is about Globowl, not about Megan's cult that she joined.
I want to hear more about it.
Oh, so, okay. So you can't not launch this business. You have your recipes, and then it's like, well, how big are you going? Did you say, I'm going to go small scale, I'm going to do farmers markets? Or were you like, oh no, if I'm doing this, we're doing national distribution right out of the gate. I got my food. Yeah. You're already shaking your head.
That's recap. That's very broad, but yes. You need to get kind of product market fit. You need to do some testing and make sure people want to buy it, so we did do a couple street fests and stuff, but all the while we were developing it, with we had already secured a co-manufacturer, because this is not something I'm going to do like a cottage business that I'm going to do from my home. This is something I want sold on the shelves of every major grocery store in the whole country, and you can't cook that from home. So I wanted to skip that step and know that I wanted to move this business into a really big direction. And I just knew there was, like I said, that white space for it. So yeah, I tried to do everything, I guess, go big or go home from the beginning, while still doing it in an intentional way, right? Like, you can't just say, oh, I'm going to go get into 5,000 stores at one time. It doesn't work like that. So, still taking it, pacing it in the proper way to be on track to do like a 7-year-ish business before hopefully someone else can take it even bigger than I could,
I can see that. What'd your husband think did he just go, yep, it's about time. I was waiting for you to come up with something, and there it was. I knew you couldn't not do something again. What was
at it again sort of thing? But it had been a solid 5 years that I had not done my own business. I had done 2, and then I had my baby, and I decided during that time I had maternity leave. I actually I had some inbound inquiries to help out some of these other startups. So I decided to move in that direction. Like, okay, I'll consult a bunch of startups for the foreseeable future, and I can be at home with my kid. And, I needed to work. That's just kind of who I am. And I thought, this is great. Like, I'm still in the startup world. It's just not my business. It's not as risky. And one
it's
of
your
the
money, not mine. You just pay me.
Exactly. That was a nice thing, right? Someone else paid me. But one of those companies that I was kind of doing some part-time sales work consulting really for, then they brought me in part-time, and then I did that for a while. Then it was full-time, and then I was the global director of sales. So I ended up doing that for 5 years, and that was for a hospitality consulting company. Again, I've always been either in food, hospitality, editorial, or on the periphery of. And so I ended up doing that for 5 years. But then imagine being hit by COVID when you're working in the hospitality industry. We were talking about mixology and all of that before. So I actually managed to stay on board during that whole time. But it was also a time of reflection, and you still had more time than ever. You weren't even going to this. You weren't leaving. So even if you had a full-time job, you had more time in your day. So that's when I started feeding my daughter, and how it all happened.
Damn, I should have had a mobile bar business. That would have been perfect.
That is a good idea.
I mean, Adam has Tap It Truck where you can rent out, and they put the kegs on there and they do wedding venues and all that. But I should have just bought some little jitney and done a mobile bar during COVID. And just pull up. I'll tell you what, it's happy hour. We'll do cocktails for you. Boom, make drinks for people, and on to the next. I would have made a freaking kill. Thanks for the idea. Now,
when everybody was doing things outside,
I know.
Perfect.
Yeah.
Would have been dynamite.
Shoulda, woulda, coulda.
My lawyer would have hated me though. You want to do what, Flanagan? Okay, here's some conditions. A, you're not allowed to taste test. But so B, you're not allowed to taste test. So you go big with this, and like you said, you found a co-packer, you found the jars I could see on the video. Those are they're beautiful.
Can you see those up there?
I love them.
Not strategic or anything. Yes.
Not strategic. I love the colors. So purple is like the main color. What is that? Periwinkle blue, or is that purple?
It's somewhat in between. I mean, I'm not sure the PMS number, but yeah.
All right.
They call it. I don't know.
But I mean, you have to, that's the thing that people don't get. It's like, okay, how big are the jars going to be? What's the design? How many ounces is this? And is it true weight, true ounces? I'm assuming you go by fluid ounces.
Yeah.
Because it's a stew consistency instead of.
Well, actually.
Or is it just ounces?
It's just ounces.
Okay.
Yeah, fluid ounces.
But the whole label, and then all the ingredients and any disclaimers you got to squeeze on there.
Well, and think about the legalities of it too, right? There's so many pitfalls, things that you could fall into. And so that was another place where I didn't skimp. Was I'm a mom. Like, these kids that I'm going to sell this baby food to, they're other people's children. Like, this has to be the safest, cleanest, food that there is. And I want to make sure that it's safe. And so, that's just my biggest nightmare would be if it wasn't. And so, having it reviewed by FDA attorneys and having it go through really proactive testing that we didn't even need to do, which is a whole other story, how light some of the regulations are when they shouldn't be. But that being said, we went above and beyond. So we work with what's called an SQF certified facility, which is sort of the gold standard in hygiene and cleanliness for these manufacturing facilities. Like, we do proactive and voluntary heavy metal testing. Like, we do everything that you can possibly do. We do pH testing for the shelf stability of it all. I mean, this is stuff that costs money, but I wouldn't be able to sleep at night if we didn't kind of take those precautions.
I wouldn't even think about that. Yeah, like what is the shelf life? So if we hit an apocalypse, I want to know what's the shelf life of Globowl baby food. I'm going to stock up. Everybody else is going for cans of beans and stuff, and I'm in the baby food aisle going, I want Globowl.
This is actually good because it tastes really good.
Yeah.
I mean, we formulated the recipes like I said, I kind of worked on them at home. And then I brought in a chef who was a classically trained chef. He worked at Charlie Trotter's in Chicago and decided to leave the restaurant business to have a more family-friendly chef job. And so he went in-house and did all sorts of product development for big CPG, Kraft, Heinz, and General Mills and all of that. And so he knows how to make food shelf stable without the use of any preservatives, because it was also a goal to be an all-natural organic product. To me, that's kind of table stakes at this point for kids. So he knew how to do that without artificial preservatives. So the way that we preserve our food, because as a mom and a busy one and a working one that's on the go, like this did need to be as convenient as a pouch, but with the health benefits of what we provide within the glass. But anyway, so he found a way to do this just through the actual manufacturing process and the heat, but also with natural preservatives like lime, right? That's why you can cook, shrimp or ceviche, right? With just lime juice. It does, preserve it in that way. And so, so it's just all natural, so our shelf life is 2 years, but it's quite frankly, it's safe indefinitely. It's akin to like a canning process.
Okay. You were holding up that jar one more time there, and I was looking at the bottom of it. No, let me see the bottom. Look at that.
Yeah,
there are like real tiny, tiny bits and chunks and everything. And it's like, that's food in there.
Oh my
God.
God.
To make a cocktail out of that.
I like it. no cocktails out of that. I don't know. But we can have it as a dip
well with margarita. I will tell you that.
Does it?
Because it's like a chili sort of. Yeah.
Now you have partners in your business.
I do not.
Oh, okay. It's just other parts of your team. So
yes, I do have a team. Yeah, but I'm the founder.
You have a team. So you founded it. You have, and I apologize for that. And you launched this thing. You need a team because, like you said, you're going big. And so you have to gather a full team really damn quick, besides a co-packer and a chef, because one, you can have an attorney on the side, but you got a whole sales division. You have a whole distribution side of things. You have,
how do you know so well? You know the lingo, the processes, the supply chain. It's good.
Well, kind of sort of been around the block once or twice, but anyway, in a good way.
Yes.
That's what you got attorneys for, to keep you out of the bad side. At least seal the files so nobody knows. But how did you know who to go to assemble your posse initially when you decided to launch all of this?
Kind of. Like I said, I have done multiple businesses before, but I've never done a CPG company. Never did created a product from the ground up, or how to deal with the supply chain, or how to know how to order jars and lids. Lids don't come with the jars. You have to find the right one that actually matches the lug neck of this one. I mean, I know language I never thought I'd know about glass jars. But so I did know where to go when it came, to the business side of things. I've had investors before and mentors and advisors. And just, having done startups for so long in the Chicago kind of startup world, I just was able to, I was networked enough or connected enough to ask people, ask current advisors and mentors and things, who do I need to talk to in CPG or in creating a brand like this. And so it just, one conversation leads to a next, to the next. I mean, people ask me a lot, how did you get so-and-so on your board, or how did you do that? I don't like to say it's networking. It's just like caring about your community, going to events, giving back, right? Like I mentor a lot of students and I mentor people in the startup community. It's not about going and selfishly trying to network, for lack of better words. It's just being a part of something, that's bigger than you. And so being able to have, having done that for the last 20 plus years, it was very easy to kind of get connected to some of these right people. So I was able to find an FDA attorney. I was able to find this co-man through a friend, who said, oh, this guy in Rhode Island, you mentioned Rhode Island. They, didn't one of you mention Rhode Island? Did I make that up?
Maybe Megan. I don't know.
Maybe it was a different conversation.
You said New Jersey, or did you say New Jersey?
I think Jersey, but it's close enough.
Close.
I mean,
it's up in that area.
Rhode Island doesn't get much credit because it's so small.
But it's really, I really like
beautiful.
Yeah, I've been now many times to go to the manufacturing facility. But anyway, so a friend of a friend introduced me to the co-man, and just was able to really compile a board of advisors to start, because I wasn't, didn't have the budget to pay anyone yet. Anyone I absolutely didn't have to. And then over time was able to kind of piece together quite the team.
Did you bootstrap this whole thing, or did you bring in investors at one point?
My husband and I are big investors in it, if you will. So, but as are many others. Yeah, I have investors. We raised just under $1 million.
But you're private still.
Yes.
You're not public. Okay.
Yep.
How'd you come up with the name?
I love branding. Like, I think that's one of my favorite things is, the colors and the logo and, all of that. And so I took it really seriously, and I just couldn't come up with a name. With my first company, I spit it out. My first company was called Cheeky Chicago. And it just came out of my mouth. I'm like, that's it. It was like a cheeky online publication for women and, single cosmopolitan women in the city, with a big emphasis on food and restaurants and things like that. And so it just was easier. I don't know why. It just kind of came out. This one was taking a while. And yeah, I just one day I was like, this is global food, blah, blah, blah. And it's in a bowl, blah, blah, blah. And it just all of a sudden came out. I'm like, oh my God, but it's BOWL. I got this. And I was in the shower. I jumped out of the shower. I called my husband. I called two of my best friends from college who are really good at this kind of stuff. And when they said, oh my God, that's it, I knew I was I had found the right name.
Isn't that crazy?
Global food.
Yeah, it's awesome.
That's perfect.
That's how I knew it was food, I think. Because at first I saw the name, I was like, oh, I bet it's baby food. Because I saw the jars and the name. I was like, that's what it is. It's so cool.
Thank you.
I love how all the best ideas come from being in the shower too.
I swear. I mean, I listen to podcasts in the shower. It's just it's because you can't do much else. Right?
No, they actually say that. That's where a lot of your ideas happen in the shower. It's amazing.
Or there's one other possibility. You're on the toilet.
I knew that's what you were going to say.
But this is what, okay, so
still a bathroom thing.
Still a bathroom, but listen to this. Yeah. So you know how I want to get the van, right? The van, the converted van. Yeah. The toilet is in the shower.
Yes.
Oh, they all are, right? Like
they all are.
Imagine the $1 billion ideas that are going to come out of that.
Didn't know
once I get my van.
Till the first time you got to empty out that cassette toilet, then the $1 billion ideas go away.
I have a question. Huh? I have a question.
Ask it.
I want to go way back. And maybe I missed this, but when you guys were talking earlier, but when did you realize you had the entrepreneurial bug? Because I didn't even hear the term startup until I was in my late 20s. I was like, ooh, this is cool. What is this? But you've started 2 companies. So when did you get the bug? And I also want to know about company number 2.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Hopefully she didn't have that idea on the toilet.
None of these ideas came from the toilet. I'll just be honest up front. Not where they came from. Okay. How did it start? Yes. After college, I did not have an intention of being an entrepreneur. I did not go to business school. I started as a journalism major, and hence I did have a journalistic publication. So it makes sense. But I actually switched out of the journalism program at Northwestern University to pursue the theater degree, which my parents wanted to absolutely kill me, which I knew would happen, which is why I didn't apply to the theater program. I applied for the journalism program.
Did you have to say it twice when you switched? Did you say, I want to be a thespian? And they're like, well, you're in college, you can explore. It's okay if you like women. We'll accept it. And you're like, no, not less.
It's just funny. I actually haven't said or heard that word in a while, and I wrote it yesterday in an email. It's just so funny that you just brought that up. Yes, I told them I was switching from journalism to thespian work, and they were not happy. So took some convincing, ended up graduating with a theater degree. I decided I'm going to pursue a little bit of that after school, really wanted to go in that direction. But when I realized what it took, I said to myself, it's not what I want to do. This is not my life. This really hard kind of auditioning, rejection, all of that, reserve that for the people that really can't see themselves ever doing anything else. I want them to get it, right? I could see myself writing. I could see myself doing a lot of other things. And then I did start writing for a couple publications, just kind of going back to the journalism thing, which is funny. But honestly, the reason I switched out was because at the time, Northwestern, one of the best journalism schools in the country, did not have an emphasis on digital publishing. They weren't going in that direction at all. And this was 2001. It's not like it was forever ago. It was, you could tell that was the direction it was going in. But anyway, so after a couple of years of I had a full-time job at a theater. I was kind of coordinating the artistic department, but it's the theater. So I had like 3 other jobs, like waiting tables and writing and all this stuff. And and then one day I just kind of thought about, there's no real outlet for me as a young single, just experiencing the city in my early 20s sort of magazine for me, right? There were hard copies of other things that were mostly about drinks or bars or the scene, but nothing really like, where can I go see a good show? What's a great restaurant? Anyway, so I decided to create that, and I did raise a very little bit of money for that company too. And when I remember being asked, so you're going to have a paper publication and you're going to augment it with like the digital component? No. Why would I do that? Like, why would I have the cost of printing a paper publication every month or every week or whatever it's going to be? So it was really kind of at the very beginning of that digital movement. So I did that. And that's when I just knew, like, I meant to kind of create, I guess, if you will. And I did that for 7.5, 8 years. So it was a good long run. And then my second company, so this is the third, the second one, I was one of the founding employees. So I was on the founding team. I wasn't the founder. And that was a really cool experience because it was a venture-backed startup. So that was my first experience kind of with that culture, right? Yeah, it was tough. It was weird. Having done my own company, made it profitable on a very small kind of investments, with very small investment, to going, and then growing it, of course, but like then going to this venture-backed startup with like big names behind it, that there's so much pressure. It's more pressure than I ever felt from my own company, which is crazy because even today I feel the weight of the world on my shoulders. And yet I still look back at that and think it was way more stressful and it wasn't healthy. I loved it. I love what we were doing. It was a restaurant reservation system that was trying to go up against Open Table and provide a more restaurateur friendly program for them, because don't know this and we don't have to go too deep into it, but like Open Table costs these restaurants a fortune because they have to pay by the seat. So it's like you book a table of 4, it costs that restaurant $4. Imagine how many covers they do a night. So this was a much more financially helpful way to run a restaurant, and it was much more about hospitality. You could talk about VIP guests across restaurant groups, like what are their favorite dishes and blah blah, all that. So I did that. I launched the Chicago market for that, kind of ran it, got the office up and running, brought on the restaurants, and did that for about 2 years. And then it sold to Resi, which sold to American Express.
Which I just made a reservation yesterday on Resi.
Good. Yeah. It sold to Resi. And then,
Express bought that?
Yeah.
And wow. It's a double purchase right there.
Yeah.
Hopefully you got paid for your time and effort in there.
I got paid the salary, and it was a common stock sort of situation. But that being said, it was like a very strong learning experience. I met great people, like people super passionate about restaurants like I am. And that is actually where where I had my baby, and they offered maternity leave, which I really valued at a kind of a bro-backed sort of like venture company. And I was very grateful that they took that seriously. In this country, though, we have to like preface it by saying how great that is that they gave us maternity leave. But it's crazy. But anyway, and so so then I did all that consulting for the startup stuff and that hospitality consulting company, and now here I am with the third.
How did you like the consulting side of it with startups?
I actually felt that was almost less stable than starting a business, because it's almost like you can't control who's buying it. It's like, I know that if I do certain marketing tactics, I pull a lever, it's going to sell that much, right? That's for this business. Or with the first company, it's like it was an advertising model, like a not multi-level, but a 360 degree opportunity for these not investors, oh my gosh, advertisers to reach this woman, right? So it was more tangible. Whereas when you're consulting, I mean, it's not a product they can buy, right? It's a customized kind of pricing structure. So all of it is just a little bit more woo and flexible, and you really rely on word of mouth. And you also don't know how long these businesses need you for, how long they're going to last. It felt less stable than anything else.
I guess it's more tangible on this side. I mean, I do help people, small businesses, usually independent owners, with for their business on the business consulting side of things.
Yeah.
But in the co-working space, I get called on to do consulting, and that is a little more tangible.
Yeah.
So I'm wondering if when you're consulting, and as we know, we don't really bring consultants on this show. No, it's coaches and consultants. It's a hard thing to talk about because there's so many.
Yeah.
But we've got you. Did you find when you're working with startups and stuff, were you finding that they were building a business to eventually sell and they wanted an exit strategy, or were they calling you in the beginning, in the middle, or was it to fix a problem or help build a solid foundation for their company? Where do you find?
I think it was a little bit of everything. Sorry, my dog, it's thundering. Say hi, Gigi.
Oh,
She's so cute. She's the best. It was a little bit of everything. I mean, some companies were venture-backed startups that needed help in the marketing department, right? Or others were people like the people you mentioned that you consult for, independent individuals that were trying to get a business off the ground or their own kind of company off the ground. Companies like that have been around for 20 plus years and are really sustaining, but need some oomph, if you will, some pizzazz. So yeah, it was all different sorts of things. I would not categorize myself as a consultant. It just kind of landed as something I could do that, these startups needed advising of some sort. Maybe it's paid advising might be a better kind of way of saying that. But yeah, it was fine for that period of time in my life. And now I call it, like, now it's just more about mentoring. I'm not going to charge right now to like consult for other companies. I'm not in that position. I'm growing something myself, but I happily will share with people and mentor instead.
See,
question.
go for it.
Okay, so I am 34. I'm starting my first startup. Actually, I'm like 4 years in, but I'm freaking out because I want to have like 1 million kids, right? So I'm like freezing eggs. I'm doing all this stuff. How do you manage a startup and you're a wife and you're a mom? How do you set boundaries? How do you like actually, because I could work 24/7 and that's what would make me happy right now. Because I just want to see my business grow.
Because it is your baby right now, right?
Yeah.
I mean, it is your baby, and my business is also a baby of mine. I mean, the way that it's worked for me at this stage of my life, because there's not a lot of work-life balance, but I don't think there's work-life balance almost anywhere, right? I don't think it's just being an entrepreneur or owning a startup. I just think that we're in an age where digital, just all of the dings and all the stuff that hits you at all hours of every day is just, there's not that work-life balance. But what I did decide in this case, because my kids are still really young, like I started this 3 years ago and the kids were 2 and 5, right? So they're 8 and 5 now. And so I didn't want to miss those moments. I didn't want to go back to what I knew it took to get something off the ground and then miss this stuff. And so honestly, I bring my kids to a lot of stuff, like regularly. I have told the kids that it's our business. It's like our family business, even though it's not, I mean, my husband has his own stuff. Like, it's not a family business. It is me, but it's, my whole family's involved with it. And so that you lose that whole competition between the kids, the family, and the business, and it all kind of melds into one. And so, I'll say, it's our business, guys. Like, we did this today or whatever. And the kids will come home from school, especially my 8-year-old who's like in love and obsessed with entrepreneurship. He'll say, Mommy, how many baby food jars did we sell today? Or did we get into any new stores? So it's we, right? They use our, like, and that makes it feel, that they're not losing me to something else, And so when I go away or I travel, because I do travel a lot for work, because these, headquarters of these stores are all over the country. The trade shows are all over the country. The company's headquartered in Chicago and I'm back and forth. So like, there's a lot of that. So when you kind of set it up that it's ours, it just doesn't feel as bad to them. And I also ask them for advice. I ask them to look at things, look at this label. Do you like it? Things like that make them feel like they're a really big part of it.
That's so smart. I've asked this question to several people, and that's the first time I've ever gotten that answer. That's so smart to just include them.
Why
And no one
wouldn't you?
told me that. It just felt natural to me, you
Yeah.
know, especially because it is a family-friendly brand. It was even easier, right? If I was developing some, you know, app for whatever, you know, vehicles, and I don't know, like they wouldn't have any interest. They wouldn't know how to contribute. This feels family-friendly.
It's good. I like it.
Yeah.
Bring them on board.
So awesome.
And
They
you can
have
use them as
those
a tax write-off too.
It's true.
You know, I'm like, I can have like 20 kids. I already know what work I'm going to have them do. I just need to grow them.
Put them out in the fields.
You got to make them first. Yeah. I mean,
know.
I'm with you. I
get-
would love as many kids as possible. So I hear that need, and I don't think that you wanting to, you know, pursue having this startup and growing that, I don't think they're not mutually exclusive. Like you can do them together.
Well, according to Shauna, the tax goddess, your kids with your business, I mean, when you're bouncing these ideas off of them, you have them for marketing. You can technically pay them a wage
Yes.
to do that. And food tasters. I mean, now you said your son's a picky eater,
Yeah.
but your daughter is more, I'm sure she's the entry point. Do
Yeah.
you still try to spin up new ideas for recipes, or do you let
Yes.
your chef handle it?
No. Oh
You do
my
it?
gosh. I mean, yes, he's amazing, and we do it together, but like, I'm always thinking, you know, it's in my blood. Like I said, like food and cooking is in my blood. So like, I can kind of concoct things and know if
Mhm.
it's going to taste good or not. But no, like one of my, mentors, he, was one of the founders partners at, Frontera, you know, the salsa company and all of that.
Mhm.
And he said to me recently, like over the last few months, you always have to have a pipeline of innovation. Like you should be ready to bust something out that's new every 6 or so months. And I literally, my eyes were, what? Like it took me 3 years to develop these first 4 SKUs, you know? And, but it hit me. I'm like, you're right. If you're going to keep up with the trends, and you're going to keep up with like not even the trends, the evolution of the child's life, right? They're going to outgrow baby food. So what do we
Right.
do to keep them for longer? You got to always think like that. And that's, yeah. So we have a whole pipeline of innovation. We're actually doing a focus group in 2 weeks in Chicago, to taste, test, and talk, and get feedback from consumers and doctors and people like that. And from there, we'll have a better idea of where we're gonna move. But also staying on top of the trends. Like you need to know what is grocery doing right now? You know,
Right.
like don't make something that no one's buying. So
Well, I mean, Chicago taste testing with little kids. I don't taste enough sausage in here. What the hell? Is that deep dish that we're going for? Are we going for thin slice? I don't know. I mean,
tavern style.
tavern style. Just bring it out. You got two pitches coming out with that right now.
That's good. Good.
So-
That looks good.
Go Bears. How do you stay on top of that? And what actually my real question is, what was the first large market that you hit, and how much shelf space were you allowed that they gave you? Because it's a big damn deal when you get shelf space in a major grocery retail place,
Yeah.
and then you have to maintain it, because if you're not moving SKUs, it's gone, and you want to increase that as much as possible.
Yeah.
So what was your first big one that you got?
So we
Or
are
decent size. I mean, it
Yeah,
could
yeah.
be regional. It's fine.
Yeah, they're almost all of them are regional. I mean, we're in talks with some national players, but our go-to-market strategy was such that we would be making an impact in the natural and organic space. So like more premium stores. And the price point, it is a premium product, right? It's in the glass jars. We do all of this voluntary testing, like all these things that, you know, up the price point. It's all organic ingredients and all that. And so I lose my train of thought all the time. Like it's like,
Where are we
Mom,
going? Who do you,
Oh,
what was your
how we got
first?
into the stores. Yeah. So Central Market in Texas was great. Was our very first chain. Town and Country, Gelson's. So these kind of trend setting, if you will, like stores that other conventional stores look to kind of bring in their next round of stuff. Like they're not really going to be the first to embrace innovation, but there are stores that do, right? Like Sprouts or Gelson's, Air One, Mothers. Like there's some of these really cool stores and retailers that kind of want to be the first to market. So that's where we've been focused. And I would say our biggest we're sold on Amazon, but that's a different beast, but also Thrive Market, which is the equivalent. It's an online, it's the largest natural e-retailer in the country. But it's about the footprint of 200 or so stores.
Damn.
Wow.
Yeah. Yeah. So
You're-
that's our biggest, we're doing well there. It's amazing when you find the right partner.
You got anything? Because I got, it's like final question time, unless you
Oh.
got something else in there.
I have a non-global related question.
Do it. Global
Global.
related question.
My speech therapy, like my speech pathologist friend always is teaching me how to say it totally properly. Like she's like, you didn't say it right on that pitch. And I'm like, I'm sorry. I do my best. So I think you guys
That's
all
hilarious.
You could have like Aunt
Global.
Martha on there that, with the, all right, today we're going to be having some Globowl. It's so good for you kids. Don't do like I did with little Henry. This is what I fed him. Oh my goodness.
Oh no.
Go ahead, ask your question.
What's your favorite Harry Potter book? Because I see them on the shelf back there.
Oh my God, you do.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh. I mean, I think I'm always like, I guess I'm beholden to the first one because that's where you entered like that magical world,
Mhm.
So I would say the first one. I haven't read it since I read him when I was like late teens, which is funny, but that's when I read him. And now I'm reading the first book to my son.
Oh,
read
this
it,
is
but we
another
have-
reason I need to have kids because I'm just like I don't know if I'm going to read them again for myself, but I would love to share that with
That's a lot.
my child.
When you bring the thing, and I know he's 8, and you got to get him hooked really quick on a book like that.
Oh yeah, he's
Because
obsessed with it. He loves it.
I remember reading to the girls, and it was like Lemony Snicket and some of
Oh,
the
that's-
others, but they were still, the kids kind of knew. They look at the book and they're like, okay, I enjoy this. And it almost, as they got to the end, it was like, oh, I want the next one.
Yeah.
You come up, and I remember trying to read Harry Potter with Summer in the first one, and it was like, oh boy. And she saw the
They're
thickness of the
cute.
book,
They're
and it's like,
intimidating. Yeah.
But if you
ooh.
like, I don't know, if you start him when like he's 8,
Right.
like
Right.
I remember getting to the 7th one when that came out. I was like, it's only 750 pages. Like,
Oh,
what
I
is
know you
this?
never wanted it. We just
Yeah.
my son's been reading the Goosebumps books.
They're good.
Do you remember those? Like,
Yes,
Mhm.
my
Sure
brother
do.
read all of them. He could read one
Oh
in a
my
day.
God.
Yep.
I want him to read, like my mom and dad must still have them, like the retro ones, because now there's all new ones. But we talked about the idea of suspense just yesterday or the day before, because just like you, like it's only 750 pages. It's because it keeps you in suspense. You never want it to end. And he just got. I love that he loves these Goosebumps books because it feels like he wants to keep reading versus read your books, keep
Right.
reading.
That's awesome.
So the idea of suspense. So book number 1, yeah.
Love
Find
it.
Rick Riordan too. Actually, he wrote one of the Goose, but there's the 39 clues. It's a
That's a
series,
series?
but written by different writers. And I know Rick Riordan wrote that, but he also did the Percy Jackson series. And I
Oh,
remember taking the girls on a road trip. We were going up to see my dad in New York, and family up there, and they're like, "Oh, book on tape, Dad, really?" And I'm like, "Hold on, let me just put it. Just give me 30 minutes. If you don't like it, the next 19 hours, we don't have to listen. We'll listen to whatever you want." And I put it in. I'm like, "Oh, half hour's done. You want me to turn it off?" And no. I want to know what's going to happen. I was like,
that's the
"Thank
best.
goodness." Yeah. So,
You did it.
that is so awesome. Well, thank you for sharing all this with us today.
Thank you.
The company, Globowl, Globowl. Where are people going to go? Because I know folks are going to be like, I got to buy this stuff now.
Yeah. Thank
Now
you.
they can go to retail stores, or they could buy it online in a couple places. And if they want to just reach out to you, it's your time. Pitch away.
Thank you. Yeah. Oh, thanks. I mean, you can find it on our website. You just said, Amazon and Thrive Market. We are in regional stores, like just use our store locator on our site. However, what I would ask is if you go to a store and you want it and they don't have it, ask the manager, like ask for customer service or ask for a store manager and say, hey, do you guys know of Global? We'd love to, I want to buy it. Why don't you have it? Sort of thing. And it actually goes, these are grassroots ways that you could actually grow a company. It's not I mean, not forever, right? You need a budget for some marketing, but it really does help us. Like that word of mouth really, really helps. So yeah, and if anyone, I'm totally open about like my email address, like email me. I love customer feedback. I love ideas for new recipes. It's just my name, Erica with a C at globowl.com. I'd love to hear from you even if you have questions about, starting solids for your kid. I'm always here as a resource. So, but thank you so much for having me today.
Well, I'm so glad you reached out to us on the advice of your friend.
Yeah.
And we appreciate it. Thank you for sharing your story with us today. And you know what, folks, we're going to put all of this information in the show notes. So if you're like, I'm listening to this while I'm trying to struggle with 3 kids right now and get food down their gullet, just go to the website, go to, toastingthebusiness.com. It'll be there in the show notes, like everything else, and it'll link you to Erica. So thank you again for being on the show. Megan, thank you for filling in.
Yes. Thank you, Erica. Thank you for having me, Darren.
Always. You're always welcome. There is always a seat at this table for you.
No, I'm busy. I'm starting a startup.
She's
Starting a startup, and I'm freezing eggs, and I'm going to rule the world with my brood of children.
I mean, that's the plan.
I love it. I love it. We could talk offline about all of it.
Oh, well, folks, we're so happy you tuned in. If you enjoyed this, share the episode with a friend, and we will see you next week. There we go. Hold on. I'm going to hit off record on the video too.
Okay.
Privacy. So funny. It's like you never even know when you're being recorded or